with all of those vagaries in English. Well, the great motivator, why do you want to learn how to do all that stuff when it's so frustrating? Well, you want to do it because you want to know what it says. And so by having something interesting, exciting out there to be looking for, that's a huge motivator to struggle through. And then once they struggle through a few times, however many reps they need, they've got it, and then the reading clicks in. And so again, it's to a degree, it's somewhat like whole reading, which was a phase that public education went through. But the idea that people read because they want to know. People won't read just because it's fun to, to sound out the words. And so that's kind of how the research part goes. And they become much more sophisticated as they get older, and their research, instead of 2 or 3 paragraphs, you're going to end up with, papers that are 5, 8 pages long.
My son is really, one of his comments so far about the Ivy schools that he wants to draw a lot, and that instead he's forced to do a lot of writing. and I just wonder if maybe his way of working out the stories and the ideas involves some kind of artistic expression. That what place is there for that in this kind of system?
Drawing the whole timeline, drawing the parts of every animal and the exterior and the interior. There's an awful lot of art that's integral to what they do. It's pretty much right in there with everything. At the 3 to 6 level, they can't really draw well enough to do it, so they do a lot of tracing. But the 6 to 9, they're drawing all of this stuff. If you go in the classrooms and look through all the botany and zoology material and all of the history stuff, that's all just absolutely right there for being drawn. And like she said, they can also make up their own animals. You might have dragons somewhere. You might have some great futuristic pear thing with blue.
I'm wondering if you can speak to those new 5th and 6th graders for a second, who are new to Montessori, and especially if they've come from traditional public education where they have been truly, the passive learner, maybe or maybe not. How are you empowering them to to trust their own interests, that is a valid way to learn, that they're not supposed to be told what to do?
That's a good question. I keep giving them more and more lessons so that they have sufficient options to choose from. And then if they are wandering and seem unsure of what to do, we go back to their work journal and look at what they have had lessons on, and I help them to decide what they'd like to choose.
But that is the hugest thing for a non-Montessori kid, is to figure out how to choose. Because they haven't had any choices in a really long time, and they really don't get it. I can remember my first year in college. It took me into the 2nd semester before I figured out that they actually cared what I thought. And that I actually had to put some of these things together and come up with something that made sense to me, and that somebody even cared about that. Because, for me, it had really been an open head, insert info and then regurgitate. And so it took me a while to figure out that I had a role here to play in learning. And so I think that in the beginning, Amy's exactly right. You give them as much of a repertoire of behaviors and things to work with as possible, so they can begin to figure out, oh yeah, I like that. That was fun. Yes, I'd like to do more of that. I think that's what I want to do. But it takes a while. Even if in the 3 to 6 class, if you bring in a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old that hasn't had the Montessori, and they've been in whatever a nursery school, prep school is.
Daycare?
Yeah, no, but I mean, there are schools, I don't know about, maybe they don't have any in Oregon, but in California, these are like little military schools for babies. Well, sorry, and you know, where they've all, at 3, they've been sitting at desks and been repeating, making A's over and over and over again. Yeah, it's, but if you get a kid that comes, you know, they have no clue. They're just waiting for you to tell them what to do. And it takes, you know, for those little ones, it takes at least 6 months before they figure it out.
What age does this go up until?
The Ivy school? Ivy school right now goes through
8th grade.
Next year, we're supposed to get 7th and 8th grade, but Kim, you could verify that.
That's the idea. 30 more students grow to 7th and 8th grade from there. 7th and 8th grade, as you know, that's a difficult one time to find 7th and 8th grade that aren't somewhere already in a middle school. So that'll be a conversation that we'll have certainly with the board and how we want that to look. But we love that progression, and eventually it will happen. It may not be next year right off the bat, but we definitely want to get there. So it'll be 1 through 8.
So all Montessori schools only go to 8th grade?
No.
Okay, just here.
Us.
Well, and it's not just, it's really hard to do. The Erdkind, and the model for the Erdkinder is basically a farm school. And the kids, some of the kids, Erdkinder is what Montessori called the form of education for the 12 to 18-year-old. It means earth children, so it's the earth children's school. And she really felt that the teenagers needed to get back to the land and work with their hands and do physical labor and grow things and work with machines. And it's not that they don't also have to do schoolwork, but they thought that that was a better setting for them.
So do you incorporate math?
Oh, yeah.
Like they won't be behind, or like when it comes time for algebra and real math stuff, you do that?
They do that. I mean, they yeah.
In my class.
Yeah. I mean, we're just talking about cosmic education, which is just one segment. There's math and there's reading, and it's just the cosmic aspect is kind of a melding of history and botany and zoology. So, and the physical sciences to a large degree, the science experiment. So it's all kind of in a package. But yeah, there's math, there's language, there's music, there's art. But Montessori tends to put things more together so they're more holistic. It's not compartmentalized. But yeah, there's math. And in the Erdkinder, their math is, you know, going out and surveying and measuring and figuring out how many gallons this is going to take, and you know, how far are you going to dig, how much volume do you need to have a holding tank. So it's just grounded in reality. But you need all of those skills. And they do also do regular old problems on a piece of paper too.
Okay.
But it's connected to something that's meaningful.
My daughter is new to Montessori this year also, but is entering 2nd grade. And so in kindergarten and in 1st grade, she always had homework every night. It may have just been reading stories. And so I'm sort of like, you know, waiting to hear what I'm supposed to do. You know, as a mom, like, it's my role to help her. So I have some anxiety around that. And maybe the other new parents also do. If you can kind of give us a sense of our role in how we support our children in becoming, you know, great learners, successful students, etc., in a new program.
Sure.
That would be helpful.
Absolutely. Well, the reason, see, in Montessori, the kids are working all day long. So we figure they do a lot more work. So they don't need to do as much homework because they're not all sitting and waiting while one thing gets done. Each child is working all morning long. And afternoon, exactly. I didn't mean to imply that they fooled around. We make them work in the morning, then we let them screw around and kill them. No, but I mean that they are really working and focused and concentrating and working at their capacity during the work periods in the morning and in the afternoon. So there just is less homework to be done. Also, a lot of the work that they do is tied to the materials, and so, you know, they can't really work on the timeline when they're home. But as far as, we're